Morning folks, Kevin here. Well, it's September 15th, 2018. I'm out in the western garden plot. Today I have some goals of trying to get these beds ready for next season. We have the large compost pile up front that you've seen me composting over time. That stuff's completely ready to bring down here and start topping off the beds. So a couple of days ago I harvested the corn. I still haven't processed that yet. Then I came back and harvested the remaining carrots that are in there. I haven't processed that yet either, but that's to come. I can do a lot of that when the temperature increases, but the heavier stuff that I'm doing I like to do in the morning hours. So this is morning. It's not 6 yet, I don't think. No, it's not 7 yet. And so today I'm going to be over here working. Yesterday I put the Berta flail mower on the walk behind the 749 BCS tractor, which worked extremely well, chopping up and mulching up the remaining corn stalks after harvesting the corn. Now the major part of the corn stalks went over to sealing pond 5. Because I wanted more biomass over in that area to break down organically for sealing the pond. But as you could see before in the previous video harvesting the corn, I left quite a bit of the stalks here. The flail mower made great work of mulching up the remaining corn stalks, and those are almost like bamboo in a sense when you harvest them at the end of the year, and they don't break down that well because they're so dense and so fibrous that it takes time for the microorganisms, the fungi, to actually work their way through that large mass of material. And by using the flail mower, we can mulch that up into such fine particles that we increase the surface area of each one of those particles, and then the microbes can break it down much more quickly and easily. By using the flail mower, we can mulch it right down to the ground surface, so there's just the root mass below the surface. So now the goal is to cover up these beds, all of these beds, with some fresh compost from the large composting pile system series that we did this summer. So, and I'm going to be using a new technique to try and move the material over here. But before I do that, there's still some green over there, and a lot of that is white clover. So instead of covering that up or weeding that area, I'm going to go ahead and transplant those over to the asparagus bed. So previously I made a couple of videos on weeding the asparagus bed, recomposting the system and all. And so my goal is to give a good companion ground cover nitrogen fixing plant that will work in unison and create adequate ground cover, because nature abhors a bare ground. It's going to bring weeds into the area. So I'm going to use the white clover. Now there have been studies, and if there's interest in this I can talk about it, where from the University of Wisconsin, where the white clover was shown with asparagus to compete with some of there's going to be a reduction in the productivity of it. But given that that's a possibility and I want to decrease workload, I can take a little less productivity from garden beds as long as I don't have to do more work in the garden beds. So it's a nice companion. It's a guild as I'm looking at it over there, and enough said about that for right now. The other thing is, as I mentioned, I'm going to be trying a new technique of getting the compost into this bed. I don't know if it's going to work yet or not, but today's the day to see if that is going to work. Previously, what I would do is use Optimus Prime, the front end loader, and go up to the compost pile, bring a load back here. I'd go ahead and turn it one time, each bucket, to help loosen it up, break it up, because it consolidates as it's in the pile. So I pick up a bucket load, drop it, it loosens it up, breaks it up some, then I bring the load down, and then I use my big wide aluminum flat shovel, and I get a scoop of it at a time, and I walk the whole length back and forth, starting off at the most distant point and building up the bed as I come closer to me. So that's the way I've traditionally done it. This year I'm going to try a new way. I'm going to hook up the dump trailer to the truck, use Optimist Prime to load the trailer, bring the trailer down here, use Bumblebee, the mini excavator, to take small bucket loads, dump it into the wheelbarrow, and see if I can save myself some trips. I don't know that it'll work. The grading bucket on the mini excavator is exactly the same, about almost exactly the same width as the wheelbarrow, which means I can lose extra material, especially if I'm not careful. This is a two-wheeled wheelbarrow, so it's more stable when it's stationary than a one-wheeled wheelbarrow. And so we'll see if this works. I better get started. Okay, I'm back. I just got done finishing up gathering up all of the white clover from the western garden plot. The white clover is a perennial ground cover that's low in height. It's difficult to establish initially, but once it's established, it really is fastidious, and it can be invasive. But in my perspective, it's one of the ideal ground covers for this cold temperate climate that we live in, that has periods of drought and significant rainfall and lots of snow accumulation. So I took that, wheelbarrowed it over here to the asparagus gardens and went all the way around the perimeter there and put the asparagus, placed the white clover at the margin of where the wood chips meet the compost. So gradually, I hope that the white clover progresses and migrates out and covers the ground. Yes, there will be competition. It'll decrease some of the asparagus, potentially. That's what's been reported in the literature. However, I'm willing to take that if I can reduce the other weed load that's there and decrease the amount of work that we have to put into the system. The other thing I harvested, I gathered up, were some of the red clover. So that's over by one of the statues. Now the red clover is much taller, and it can shade out the soil more. However, it's still a great forager. It's a great medicinal plant. And so right by the elephant here at the base, where it's difficult to get the mower up next to, I moved the red clover over there. It's covered up a little bit with some of the garden soil, the compost, but that's okay. It's pretty hardy. Some of it's going to survive and pop up there. And then hopefully as time goes on, I'll keep doing this and propagate more and more of the desirable perennial ground covers and put them in the locations so there's less mowing in the future, there's less weed competition, less migration of the bindweed, the quackgrass, the sedge nut, all of the various weeds, and reduce the workload that we have in the future. After that, I went ahead and fired up the BCS with a flail mower and mowed the tops off of the remaining clover that's over there in the bed. That's going to go ahead and release the nitrogen down into the soil. I don't want to disturb this soil. I'll be disturbing the compost that I put on top of this soil. I'll go ahead and use the power tiller eventually, But first, I've got to get the compost over there. So let's go see if we can get this done. Well, that system seemed to work pretty well, using the excavator to pick out the compost, put it in the wheelbarrow it in, and I created wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow right down one of the permanent raised beds. So I think that's going to work out very well for the rest of the beds. So I'm going to end this video after getting this one set here. I'll pick up further doing the rest of the beds and prepping each one of the beds, but I've decided to take a break from this and put in a frost-free hydrant. So another video is going to come on installing the frost-free hydrant for this garden plot. Because what I've done in the past is use a garden hose going from another hydrant across the lawn and feeding this system here. So if this video was of value, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post more videos, and certainly ask questions, leave comments. I enjoy the interaction. I really appreciate it, folks. You folks have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.